Hi. So this vlog is a little different than ones I normally do. It's a bit serious pie. Today is January 30th and it is the 1-year anniversary of the stupidest thing my brother has ever done. I'd like to say that a year later I have more clarity on it, but I don't. It's still this really baffling and confusing thing that I can't quite wrap my head around, and I'd like to tell you that it's better than it was a year ago, but that would be a lie. Everyone tells you it gets better, and that's not entirely true. It doesn't get better in the fact that that it hurts any less. You stop thinking about it as much. You're able to carry on with your life a little bit more normally until it just sneaks up on you and you find yourself crying in the most inappropriate of places, like a supermarket or in front of over 2,000 people on YouTube. I've gone through a lot of what he wrote. Apparently he'd been debating with himself on it since he was 16, 17, and he didn't actually make the decision to do it until last year. Normally, I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't want to talk about something this intimate or uncomfortable, but he was always about talking about everything, especially the things that made us uncomfortable. I think that's why it was really surprising that he didn't talk about this to any of us. I know I haven't talked a lot about what happened that night or around that subject, but I feel like it's a really important thing to talk about to help people who were in similar positions as he was or have been in my shoes. I remember watching this documentary about jumpers off the San Francisco Bridge, or Golden Gate, and one thing that stuck out really clear to me was they talked to some of the survivors who had jumped, and all of them had said something to the effect of, the moment I did it, I realized that everything I'd been stressing about was completely fixable except for the one thing I just did. It's a weird process, and it's not something you get over by any means. You just learn to deal with it. And I've talked about the book I'm working on right now called Letters to My Dead Brother a little bit, which is obviously very much related to the struggle I'm still in. Mostly because I want to open a dialogue about suicide, and I want to talk about it especially with a younger generation. I mean, you get bullies and all these horrible stories of just people in absolute deep depression and not knowing what to deal with these feelings because no one wants to talk about it. So that's really one of my goals with that, and I'm trying to find my own understanding, but I also really want to help other people, which sometimes kind of feels like blind leading the blind. But what I really wanted to do is share something that he wrote to us. I haven't really talked a lot about the details of what happened, and I'm not going to talk about all the really personal ones because that's just for my family and I, and he wrote us a very long note. Sorry. He wrote us a very long note, and he went to such care to make it so easy on us. I'm not going to read you his note, but in that note he left something to be read at his own funeral, which is ridiculously macabre, but it's also ridiculously inspiring, and I wish he had taken his own advice. And I can't fully explain what kind of person my brother was, He definitely had his faults, and he had a lot of trouble, especially when he was younger, but I'm hoping this is how people really remember him. Because this is just so... Joel. I actually got to read this out loud at the funeral, so I'd like to say that I'm not gonna cry as much as I did then, but I'm already going, so that's probably not true. He titled this Slipshod Soliloquy. I suppose the best thing to do with a subject as heavy as this is to open with a joke. Whoever said time heals all wounds wasn't a physician, and if I ever met him, he would certainly need one. First and foremost, I would like to get one thing absolutely clear. There was nothing you could have done. Repeat that line out loud or silently, however many times you deem necessary. I will wait until you're finished. Before we move on, I will go over that last part one more time. You did everything that was humanly possible to make my life comfortable. No amount of second guessing will change this. I will always be eternally grateful for it. You made my darkest days brighter, and I lived on borrowed time just to know you better. Thank you. I mean that for everyone in this room, and even a few I'm sure couldn't make it on such short notice. Yes, you. The only grudge I keep is that of myself. I apologize for any pain I have caused, and I hope one day you can forgive me. Let me leave you with a bit of wisdom. Don't let pain fester in the musty catacombs of your mind. It will eat you alive and without remorse. If you love someone, enjoy it because nothing is forever. And lastly, if you want to do something with your life, for heaven's sake, do it. Funerals aren't for the person who died. They're for the people they left behind, and I leave you far better than when I found you. You've all grown into such interesting and diverse human beings. Each of you so funny, smart, and wonderfully weird. Independently awesome is how I would phrase it. Once again, I'd like to thank you for the good times, as well as the supremely awful. I wish you all the best and a world of happiness. Don't think of these as my last words, but for now, I must bid you adieu as I take one step beyond, where we will continue this conversation at a later juncture. Joel Craig Nelson, International Super Spy, Dinosaur Hunter. I'm amazingly snotty right now. I don't know why I felt I needed to share that, but I just had this sort of overwhelming feeling that someone watching this might really need something that was in that letter. And I hope more than anything you take away from, if you've lost someone like that, there really was nothing you could do. And if you've been having thoughts, don't let those fester. Go talk to someone. Go get help. Don't let it fester. I wish he'd taken his own advice. So, later today, it's gonna be a lot more lighthearted. Other than that, what I really want you to take away from this is take care of yourself. I'm gonna start a practice that sometime around January 30th, if I can't do it on the actual day, I'm going to take a day specifically for me. I don't want to memorialize what he did in a way that just hurts me. I want it to be a reminder. Sometimes we let the world get away with us. We forget that we need downtime and that we need to love ourselves more than anything, and I certainly forget that constantly. So, what this extremely long and overly emotional ramble comes down to is you're independently awesome, and never forget that. And take care of yourself.